I wonder what you can do if you have a HyperDeck in your studio for live streaming and for video production. Well, there's an example of one way to use a HyperDeck. That's just a dissolve, and I want to give you guys Well, welcome back to the Life Journey Production Studios. My name is Keith, and this is the new HyperDeck Series Part 2. Today we're going to look at hooking up the new Studio HD Plus by Blackmagic Design. That's right, there's 4 new HyperDecks. You can see them here on the screen. I have the second in the line, which replaces my old HyperDeck Studio Mini, which is still here in the studio, and we'll look at that here in a bit. We're going to do a hookup today, how to hook it up, different ways of hooking it up, and we'll talk about that for your use in your studio or in live productions, however you're going to use a HyperDeck. Number 2, we're going to look at the firmware that needs to be updated as well as the HyperDeck software. Also, we're going to take a look at these converters, which you're going to need as well, making sure that you update those, and we'll talk about some of the differences in the converters and the ones I use here in the studio and why I have 3. So let's get going, and here is a look at the new HyperDeck right here on the desk. So this is my iPhone shot. This is the HyperDeck, and you can see we already covered the front panel. I have 2 discs in here ready to go, but it's completely unhooked from my desk. So we'll flip it around here so you can see I have all these hookups, and I need to decide how I'm going to use them. And so we're going to take a look at that right now. First of all, I will say this, we are definitely going to hook up power, but you do have the ability to do this 4-pin power brick, or you could use a plug-in adapter into like a portable battery pack, however you want to do that, but I will be using a regular power cord, and again, it does not come with one of those, so you need to purchase it. I will be plugging in the Ethernet port into my network so that we can do some controlling of the HyperDeck. You can also remotely use file exchange, like with FileZilla. I don't do that. I just pull my discs and record on them and plug them back in. We are definitely going to talk a little bit about this USB-C out and how we're going to use that. Definitely need it hooked up and in my PC for the firmware update, and we're going to get it all hooked up by using that and the cat cable. We're also going to use some of these other hookups. We'll talk about those here in a second, but also wanted to say that I have added some feet to it. These are just regular door stops, and they just Velcro on, and that gives me the ability to get this tilt up look that you can see here on my iPhone. So we're going to plug it in and then go through some of the steps to get it all updated and then completely hooked up and integrated in the studio. There's a number of different ways to use a HyperDeck, so keep that in mind. Some people use it for just recording. I use it for recording graphics as well as playing back videos, and you can also record directly to it and then play back videos, and we'll talk about how to do that in a later series. Again, today, focus on hooking it up, getting it all integrated and ready to control remotely from your Blackmagic Design control software, and we'll show you that as well. So let's get rolling. The first thing we want to do is we want to hook up the power cord. So I have all my cords labeled, and I would recommend that you label your cords. So the first thing we're going to do is plug in this. So now you have a look at the back, and we are going to plug this in. And that just goes right here. And then again, if you're going to use battery pack power, that is right there. So aiming it back at that camera. And there you see it, it is booted up. So now if I plug in one of my discs and hit play, it's going to play what's on that disc, and I have an intro video there playing, and so that's what it's going to see. So it's going to play in the deck, but it's not sending the signal anywhere in my studio because I don't have any of the cables hooked up. But the first thing we want to do is we want to be able to update that, so we want to make sure it's coming on. Now we're going to go back to this other camera. So now we are going to add a USB, which is right here. And so that is going to plug in the back. So we're going to roll this around. we're going to lift this up, and we're going to plug in the USB-C cable right there. So we're also going to plug in the CAT cable, and again, it's marked HyperDeck 2, and so we're going to plug that in as well. Back this up and plug that in. So there we have it plugged in. So now we have it all plugged up, so now we need to do an update. Okay, so now we are going to go into the Blackmagic Design site. So you can just simply type in Blackmagic. Backing, I apologize for that. And it's going to bring up their website. You want to go to the regular website, click on this. And then we're going to go up to products on the top. And then we're going to click on the HyperDecks, which are right here. But we want to go into support. And then click on the HyperDecks, which are right here. And then you're going to find the new Blackmagic Design HyperDeck software right here, 8.0.2. I have a PC, but if you had a Macintosh, you would click right here. I have a PC. We're going to click on Windows. And then it gives you this page. You can go ahead and register, and I would recommend you register, but for right now, we're just going to go down here, hit download only, and we're going to go ahead and it's going to download, and then I click down here, and I'm going to say open when done, and as soon as this is done downloading, I will be able to open up, and then we will install the software and show you how to connect to your HyperDeck and update it right now. Okay, as soon as it's done downloading, you're going to extract the files because it does come zipped, just to save space in downloading. And once you've unzipped the file, then you double click on it and it's going to give you this install page. So I'm going to say next, next, I accept and agree to the terms, install, and now it's installing the HyperDeck software, which will help us do some fine setups as well as make sure my firmware is updated inside my HyperDeck. So yes. We're going to fast forward to when it's done and installed. We're going to hit finished. Inside your startup directory, if you go down to the Blackmagic folder, then you will then see you have the different software, and the HyperDeck is kind of this lavender, and you click on it. And now it's going to take you into the HyperDeck setup. So it sees my HyperDeck Mini, and then if I click this back arrow, because I have two, and it finds my HyperDeck. Then if you click right here, it'll tell you what the firmware is, and you have some fine setups here. So if you wanted to have a static IP, you could do it right here. If you wanted to download a LUT and install a LUT, if you were going to use it to do, like a lot of people do, ISO recording, so they come from their Blackmagic camera or from a camera that needs a LUT into the HyperDeck, whatever HyperDeck you have, then you could add a LUT at the HyperDeck level, which is a great thing that's available now. So you can hit save. So the HyperDeck is seen now because I have it plugged in to my PC by the USB-C port, and now because I have it plugged into the Ethernet port, I can go in and set up the HyperDeck inside the control software. We're going to bring over the control software right now. You get your IP address to do this first setup process. So that's the menu we're going to be concerned about here. So you hit the menu button, and then you're going to use your scroll wheel and head on over to this audio setup. The first thing we want to do is make sure that this first setting is, so you hit set, then you hit set again. We want to choose PCM2, which is 2-channel audio. Hit menu again. We're going to, hit menu one more time. We're going to scroll over here to the setup screen. And once you hit setup, hit set. And then you're going to scroll down with the wheel. until you get your IP address, and there's the IP address that you want to plug in to your software. So I know it's flashing. I apologize. I wish I could display just the screen, but I can't. So so take that IP address, and then that's what you're going to plug into your software. So we're going to turn this, hit this still dial right here, and then over in the HyperDeck folder, we're going to put that IP address right here. You can see it's there. And as long as everything's hooked up and you have the remote button pushed on the front of your new HyperDeck Studio HD Plus, which turns on remote capabilities, then you can set the auto roll after you get this IP address in. So you put that IP address in, you hit connect, and then like before, it will go green. And now you have control over your HyperDeck, but you do need that IP address in order to do that. And then up here in the media player, when you click on HyperDecks, you'll get your HyperDecks listed right here. So you have HyperDeck 1, HyperDeck 2, and you can also see the files, and we'll cover that in a later video and show you how to do automation. So you're all set up. Okay, so one of the things that you have to do is we're going to need to convert the SDI 2 channels, the fill and the key. We're going to need to convert those to bring those into my HyperDeck Extreme channel 7 and 8. So I have 8 inputs. If you have an ATEM Mini or ATEM Mini Pro, ATEM Mini Pro ISO, you only have 4 inputs, so you'll probably use 4 or 5. And so you do need to use both of those if you want to do keyed graphics, and we'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like and how to use those and implement those inside the control software in a later video. But right now, let's just focus on getting these SDI 3G to HDMI converters set up. So you will bring in a cable into the SDI in, and I have a cable right here on the bench. And this cable is going to plug into the in. And then we need an HDMI cable. Let's see if I have the right one. This is going to be, yeah, key 2. And so I have these labeled as well. So this is my HDMI in for channel 8. So it's all set up now. I will have to give it power, and I do have power right here on the desk. There's 2 of them right here, which is what we're going to use to power 2 of these. So I didn't just bring one. I need one for the key channel and one for the alpha channel. So let's just switch over here to this so you can see them up close. So these need to be updated as well. I will, in a later video, show you how to update these. So look for a video here in the series, and we'll talk about how to update these. And the new ones come with a USB-C powering port, and you also use that to do the update. So one's ready. Now we'll get the other one ready. So again, you want to come in the in port, and I'll give you a close-up of these here in a minute. And then you want to come out of the HDMI, and then this will plug into the back of the HyperDeck. And so we're going to cut to that camera view and let you see that. So this is going to plug into alpha. So that goes right here. So the first port, and there you have it. With the power cord, I can only show you this back camera here. So we'll cut to that. So you have 2 channels here. So the alpha and the key channel, or the fill channel and the key channel. So we have the fill hooked up. We have the SD converter ready to go. And then this side is going to go into channel 7 in the back of my ATEM. And we're going to hook that up now. But I need to power this converter. So I'm going to take one of my 2 power converters and power this one and set it here for a minute. Then we're going to hook this one up to the back as well into the key channel. Set this aside. We'll plug this into the key channel. Okay, it's plugged in. We want to give this one power. So we're going to power that right here. And again, I use some converters to go from a regular HDMI power jack that I had in stock, and I'm using it now as a USB-C powering port. So now both of these cables need to be plugged back in. And again, it's important to keep them straight because the alpha will go into channel 7 in my extreme ISO, and the key is going to go into channel 8. So just to make sure we get those right, and they're in. So now I'm hooked up into the back of my extreme ISO. So I have the fill plugged into channel 7, and I have the key plugged into channel 8. So those are securely plugged in. And so now I'm coming out of the SDIs into the converters. I have 2 of them again right here, and they're just sitting on here. I'll have them in the back of my desk once I'm done with this video. And now that's coming into the 2 channels that I picked. Now I could have put them in any of the other channels. It's just really smart to have them, the fill in the lower channel, and then the higher channel would be the key, and you're going to use the key anytime you're doing animated graphics. So now there's my multi-view, and you can see that my ATEM is now playing in the bottom 2 channels. Now if I hit play on my other HyperDeck, turn this graphic off, then you can see that as I switch in HyperDeck number 1, which comes into channel 4 and 5, you're going to see that down below here. And what you're seeing right now on the screen in the bottom, right below me in the bottom square, is the fill channel, and to the right of that is the key channel. So when a graphic has a pre-multiplied key, you can see it right there. So I can turn that pre-multiplied key on right now. So let's switch to a different camera angle here. Let's go to this camera, and now I will turn on that key. And there you have it. That is playing inside my HyperDeck number 1. It's going through my key number, or my downstream key number 2, and I can play it on screen just by turning it on and off. And I'll show you what that looks like right here. So it's playing. So if I turn it off, it stops playing. It's right here in my downstream key and back on. And you can also see when I go to my downstream key here, upstream key, downstream key, I have pre-multiplied on because it is a pre-multiplied graphic, and we'll talk about that in a later video. So the HyperDeck is now playing. You can see it in the multi-view. So I have 2 HyperDecks. Right now it's playing a video that I did showing the different cameras in my studio. So I can go to fast forward, I can bring it back to slow, and we'll talk more about how to control the HyperDeck. So I wonder what you could do with a HyperDeck for video in your live streams. Well, there you have it. That's just one example. That's just a dissolve that I was able to do right here in the HyperDeck. Let's just turn this audio off. And so as that video goes out, the audio goes out. So I want to show you as we wrap up this video, we're going to cover more in lesson number 3. But as we wrap this up, I want to give you a little bit behind the scenes of 2 HyperDecks right here in the studio working together. So here's a look at the multi-view, and I have 2 HyperDecks playing. I can show you those like this. There they are. You got the Mini next to the HD Plus. I have remote on, and this is set to remote as well, so that means I can control it. What does that mean? And switch displays here. And inside the settings software, you have both HyperDecks. Watch what happens when I turn remote off right here. You can see you get this error message right here. I turn it back on, and now I'm able to auto roll both of those decks, which is really cool. So you have 2 videos playing. One is a animated graphic. I can pop that on the screen right now so that you can see that. That's in key number, downstream key number 2, and I just put it on the air. You can see it right here on the screen, and that actually has a key in it, and you can see it over there in the multi-view. Cut back to the bigger look. Right there on the bottom, you see in the first 2 boxes, you see my HyperDeck Mini. In the first box, you have a fill, and in the second box, you have a key. I can give you a close-up of those just by bringing them up inside this box number 2. So again, here is the fill, and there is the key. And then in my HyperDeck I just installed, there's that graphic that you saw, and it does not have a key, and it's just a big white box. It's just a video that I transitioned to. So that's the behind the scenes look on the HyperDecks and the Multiview and how they integrate. You definitely want to keep remote on so that you can operate the HyperDecks right there remotely. On the other one, you have to go inside the menu, and we'll look more at that in the future. So more to come, hooking it up to monitors, hooking it up inside your studio for recording. That's all in the next video, as well as a comparison of the two decks. So stay tuned. I am Keith. This is Life Journey Production Studios, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.